Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. On this episode, I am delighted to be talking with comics creator Frank Martin. I'll mention a few titles here, Modern Testament, Grimspace being a few of those, and I believe you've also worked in the world of novels and other media as well. So glad to have you on, Frank, and glad to chat with you.
Thanks for having me on. Always appreciate chatting with people about my stuff that want to give me a platform. So don't take it for granted.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the time. I usually ask because I'm an English teacher. I like to hear kind of how people get their way around to the written word, because there's so many people that resist it. So I'm curious about what it was about the written word that kind of connected you.
I find when I talk to a lot of writers, they said books were my escape. I was always in a book. I was always reading a book. I really didn't like reading growing up, but I
Mhm,
liked
mhm,
I liked writing. I liked storytelling. I liked creating. So it was just a story I tell is that they give teachers give everybody in elementary school a writing assignment, like a storytelling assignment. It's unavoidable.
mhm,
And
mhm.
at some point the other kids did the assignment and then they moved on and did other stuff. But I'm like, I like doing this thing. I don't want to stop doing this thing. So I kept writing at home and I enjoyed crafting these worlds and working with stories that I already loved, like fan fiction and stuff like that. And eventually I decided to make a go of it and try to put my work out there and see if other people like it too.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. I also did not immediately connect with books, especially books that I had to read at school. It was really comics and things like that that I connected with the
I
most.
I like comics. You know what it was? I didn't like being told what to read.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a teacher telling me this is a classic, we're going to assign it for everyone to read. I'm like, who are you to tell me what to do? And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, and you know what? It makes sense to go back and read all of these classics. So all the stuff I should have been reading that I was reading the cliff notes of in high school, I'm reading now.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I had to go back and rediscover a few books myself and decide why I still didn't like some of them as well. Um, so curious about as you write, what kinds of stories particularly draw you in? What kinds of worlds do you like to create?
You know what? I like the challenge of storytelling. So I don't like to fit into one thing. I can't say that I'm a sci-fi guy or I'm a horror guy. I love it all. And I like
Mhm,
writing. I like the challenge of it. So if somebody tells me you can't tell a story this way, it like propels me, it fuels me to want to tell that story, to
mhm,
try new things. And that's what's fun about comics. It's such a versatile medium that it encourages our experimentation and trying new things and playing around. But if push comes to shove, if I had to pick one genre I feel most comfortable in, it would be horror. I
mhm,
love
mhm.
just getting into the depravity of people. And there's so many different aspects of horror. So there's fun, all ages horror that kids can enjoy. There's dirty, down, gritty horror. And then there's horror comedy. It can take so many different, it's versatile. So I, that's where I feel most comfortable in when things get the ugliest.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then, stories are a safe place for those extremes, right? Like it's interesting to explore for sure. Um, Curious about as you work across media and novels and comics, what that transition is like working from one form to another for you.
It makes you appreciate the nuances of each different one. I
Hmm.
love the collaborative process of comics. I'm not a visual guy. It's hard for me to sometimes lay out a page, but working with an artist that might excel at that, I can see how they elevate my story. They elevate my ideas by putting their own finishing touches on it. That said, I also love writing novels because it's that direct connection to a reader. My story is not filtered through an artist. The reader is physically or actually reading the words that I'm typing.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
all these different nuances allow you to tell different stories. And I love both the strengths and the weaknesses of them, stuff that one can't do that the other can. So it makes, if you just write comics or if you just do novels, it's I don't want to say the grass is always greener on the other side, but you don't really know what the differences are until you just dive headfirst into them and try them yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Well said, well said. Um, In terms of comics, I'm curious about people that have been positive collaborations, positive supporters, things like that that have sort of, or people like that that have supported your path.
I'm not big on talking names, but I will say that the comics community is super supportive, more
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
than the novel community or the prose community. Not that there aren't, I don't have friends that just write novels and that they can't be supportive, but as a whole, I think comics is such a labor of love. And also, when you make a comic, it's really hard. It's not easy. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of camaraderie there that we're all doing this hard thing together. Regardless
Hmm.
if they're my competition and they also have a book on the shelves that's asking people to buy, we both went through the gauntlet to get to that stage, and we share that experience. So it's cool just chatting with various people who want to share your wins with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And collaboration instead of competition every time. Yeah. Well, I have one more official question on the list, and then we can talk about anything that you want to add in. I always ask about current projects that you're working on. I always like to give people the space to talk about particular titles that are meaningful to them, and then places where people can connect with you.
Uh, I do 6 crowdfunding campaigns a year.
Hmm.
They're usually all over the place. I love telling complete stories. So they're usually one shots. My next one for March is Our Hero Phenom. And I tell people it's kind of strange that I've done over 20 crowdfunding projects, comics, and this is my first superhero story. And
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what people think of it because I've been all over the place. I've done murder mysteries. I've done romantic comedies. So going back to, I guess, the roots of what got me and so many other people into comics, the superhero genre, I'm really diving into it and tearing it apart, Alan Moore style, and putting it back together and seeing what people trying to get in the head of this superhero and see what makes him tick. So I'm interested to see what other fans of the genre think about it.
Cool, cool. And particular web spaces, social media spots that are helpful and informative
For learning comics or just
for following your work
Oh,
mainly.
for following me. I want to talk about other people. Forget me. Um, the easiest place to follow along with me is by signing up on my mailing list. I try to dump everything me related onto my website, which is franktherwriter.com.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you can sign up for the website there for my mailing list there. I send out bi-monthly emails just talking about creating in general or things that I've been working on. Also, I'm on all the social platforms. Frank the Writer is the easy way to think of me. So I'm at Frank the Writer on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. But yeah, the mailing list is definitely the easiest and most direct shot to me.
Cool, cool. Well, have we missed anything that you want to make sure to mention to put on people's radar before we close out?
I no, I think we've talked about comics and novels and the differences and that I'm all over the place and I had fun chatting with you.
Yeah, great to chat with you too. You are on point. This is an express edition, so thank you for the time. And I hope you have a good rest of the day.
I hope you do too.
Thanks so much.